All right, and welcome into another episode of the Young Dad Podcast. Whether you're outside grilling, maybe you're mowing the lawn, maybe you're changing diapers, or maybe you're just letting the kids run wild while you're just taking a break to listen to your favorite podcast. Whatever you're doing, thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Jay. Super excited to be with you today. I have a marvelous guest. I have Nicoma. Nicoma, welcome. Thanks for joining the podcast today. I'm super excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, before I introduce you, before I tell the listeners a little bit about who you are, take care of just a little bit of housekeeping right here at that top. That beat you just heard to intro the podcast, that wasn't my own work. Nope, not at all. Sorry, I'm not that creative. But that actually comes from the Podbeat app. That's their lo-fi beat. What Podbeat is it takes any podcast or audiobook and it turns it into a musical experience. All you have to do is simply download the app for free from the App Store, Play Store. You open up your podcast, you start playing this podcast. You can do it right now as you're listening. Open up Podbeat app, press any of the tons of beats that they have: lo-fi, trip hop, hip hop, trap, EDM, so many more beyond that. And you just play your podcast first. So whatever platform, Apple, Spotify, whatever you're on, or an audiobook, Audible, whatever you listen to your audiobooks on. Play it, let it go, let it go, let it go. Hit your Podbeat app, play that thing, and then it's going to overlay it with a beat to kind of give it that little bit of extra oomph that you need to get you through your workout, to get you through your run, to get you through your day, to get you just give that little extra that sometimes we need, that little beat to get it through. So yeah, you can find Podbeat wherever you get your podcast, wherever you get your apps from, to help enhance any podcast that you listen to or audiobook. So without further ado, Nicoma, you're the editor-in-chief of Honor Magazine, which is a quarterly publication dedicated to empowering fathers by providing valuable insights and resources to help them better themselves and positively impact their daughter's life. Myself, being a girl dad of two, speaks to my girl dad soul, my girl dad heart. Being a girl dad is not for the weak, but it's super fun.
Yeah.
You guys deliver content across various fields, including DIY projects, spirituality, mental health, aimed at guiding fathers in making informed lifestyle choices that benefit both themselves and their family. In addition to the magazine, you guys recently launched the Men of Honor community, a supportive space where fathers can connect, share experiences, and access exclusive content. The community reopened its doors in August, welcoming new members who are committed to personal growth and effective fatherhood. So that's a little bit about Honor Magazine. Tell us about anything else I may have missed from that little intro. Tell us about yourself, how this all kind of came to be, how you kind of came into editor-in-chief of this magazine.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Actually, that is essentially what we do here at Honor. I love the opportunity that I have currently to be editor in chief. One, because you're getting it from a daughter's perspective, right? So some of the things that maybe most dads are, I don't want to say clueless, but maybe not understanding. There's that woman's touch. There's that daughter's touch that gets put on the magazine, that gets put on the content that comes out. And so then dads are seeing it from a different side and perspective. So I love the work that I'm doing, and it's something that I've been passionate about for over a decade. I know that we always put emphasis on mothers, right? My mother, she's no longer with us, but she was very instrumental in the life that I have grown accustomed to living and who I've become. But my dad was just as instrumental. And oftentimes dads are overlooked. So for me, I feel like this is just a passion and a gift that God has given me. Like, hey, this is the purpose that you're here to carry out. I'm excited about the assignment. I'm excited about people understanding and knowing like dads don't babysit. They're showing up. They're doing the work. Like, we've got to get away from these narratives as if dads are not looking after their children, taking care of them, being at the forefront. And so, yeah, that's essentially what I do. And on our website, I also have a blog there that people can read, once again, giving you the daughter perspective and showing it life from a daughter's lens and how dad has stepped up and been there throughout the years.
That's so interesting and so unique.
Yeah.
And that really resonates with me because of my one and only so far children's book that I published and written and everything. It's called A Baseball Game with Dad, but it's from my daughter's perspective. Like the
Oh,
words are from my daughter's perspective, talking about going to a baseball game together, us doing that together, me and them, and just how fun and engaging that is. So it's all from their perspective. So I think having the blog and the website from the daughter's perspective really just hits a little bit different because sometimes as dads we feel overlooked, like we feel
mhm.
overshadowed, we feel kind of put off to the side, we feel like we're not as important when we know we are, but we
Right.
know we're not as important.
Yeah.
And so being able to see that firsthand from a perspective of a daughter is so cool because how often, I mean, my daughters love me, they're very expressive of their love towards me most of the time. Sometimes it comes out in violence or some rough housing, but that's okay. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. And that's actually where we
So
got the name.
how
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say that's also where honor came from. We want to give honor to these dads. So that's where the name originated. It's like we're here to honor you as fathers. We recognize the hard work, the contributions that you make. So we're here to honor you.
very cool. And that's
Yeah.
important. Dads aren't necessarily always honored,
Yeah.
especially in society today.
Hmm.
That's how it's been since, I don't know, since forever. Dads aren't really honored as much. I mean, mothers and fathers, even now today, like the family structure isn't even where it used to be. But it's just not as honored as much. So I love that. I love that name. So what kind of impact did your dad have on you that you as a daughter learned through, grew through, or were able to gain?
Yeah, he's had a tremendous impact on me just from the little things that maybe people don't even know, like him showing up. Let's say, for instance, a dating young. It was good that I was allowed to date when I was young because I'm dating under his headship. And he could kind of guide me through those things. So he showed me that my value, my self worth, by the fact that he wouldn't just let anyone take me out. He attended my games. I was on the pom pom squad growing up. So he showed up at one of my first games. I made the team and there was only one spot available. And he was beyond proud of me. So he showed up to that first game front and center in the bleachers. But the impact was just showing me my self worth, how much he valued me, showed me how much I should value myself, how much I don't take from anyone else because my dad wouldn't allow it. Even just as a little girl, one day I was getting bullied, and he went and knocked down the door of the daughter who was bullying me, and found out he was friends with the guy. So just showing me my value and my worth. Like, I'm not gonna let my daughter be bullied. I'm not gonna allow her to take in any guy. Just over the years, yeah, just showing me that I matter, listening to me. I could pick up the phone and call him and ask him any question. He was invested, and he was invested in me, and he showed it in little ways. Like, he would ask about my friends. Hey, how's Latasha doing? The fact that he remembered, that mattered to me. It mattered to me because she was my best friend. And so the fact that he would recognize that and ask those questions, but he was locked in. He had his own idiosyncrasies like any father does, but those are the things that mattered the most when you see him show up. Yeah, so he impacted my life tremendously.
That's huge. And there's so many things that I kind of pick apart from that right there. The first one is showing up. Like that is something I've talked about so many times on the podcast. And then when you do show up, make sure that you're there, you're front and center, that there's no doubt that you're there supporting your child because that's so important. There's something to showing up. Kids aren't going to remember. Uh, they're going to remember a lot, but what they're specifically going to remember is who showed up and when for them. They're going to
Mhm.
remember who showed up to all their games, who showed up to all their performances, who was there supporting them. They're going to remember that. They're going to remember, oh, well, dad was always there right in the front, or so and so was there right in the front. And I really want that so and so to be the dads, right? I really want that so and so to be each and every dad or each and every parent listening to this podcast. Like, I want y'all to be in the front row. Like, that's something I've blogged about on the website, something I've talked about time and time again, but be in the front row. Like the front row, best seat in the house. Get there early and make it happen. If
Mm-hmm.
you are saying, well, I can't make it happen because I got work or anything, then one thing that's understandable, but I'm pretty sure you have this little thing called PTO and you have a schedule and you can request some time to go and be there at the things that are important to you. So, and you can play with your schedule just a little bit to make that happen. So make sure that you're doing those things because those things are important to your kid. It's what they're going to remember because they're going to
Yeah.
remember, oh, well, dad never showed up. They're going to remember, oh, dad wasn't there. Dad didn't care.
Yeah.
And then just being able to remember the things that are important to them, to the child, like the friends names, the people that they're hanging out with, what they're doing, and showing that you're invested and you care and you want to know, so that shows that you're following up, that you're engaged, that that's important to you. And then of course standing up for your daughter as well, super important, because if she doesn't learn how to stand up for herself, or she doesn't have anyone stand up for her, then she's never going to expect that, or she's never going to be able to do that herself. She's never going to know that's important to stand up for herself. If she's just essentially walked all over all the time, she's going to think that's normal and that's what is supposed to happen. And then that leads to a whole cycle later on in life of a variation of different things.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are some ways that so even now, being in the space that you're in with fathers, what are some things that you have seen from the community, from people writing in, talking to you talking to different people? What are some things in the space that you see dads are struggling with?
Well, we just recently released the menstruation issue, I call it, and where we talk about puberty, we talk about young lady's menstrual cycle, how her body is changing. That is one of the top things that I actually get asked about more than anything else. It's like, how do I handle my teenage daughter? How do I handle my preteen? The doors are now getting slammed. This attitude arose out of nowhere. And it really is her hormones in most cases. We've got to regulate what she's eating, which we put in that issue. A lot of times dads don't understand that what she's eating actually impacts those hormones. So making sure she has a balanced diet, not just 3 pieces of like chicken, grain, and veggies, but really like honing in on those fruits and veggies, what she should be eating, and exercise. Believe it or not, just getting up and having a 15-minute walk with your daughter, especially during puberty, can impact her significantly. It impacts her mood. It makes her better. So just the little things. But yeah, I get asked about that more than anything. They're like, man, she was my princess, and now all of a sudden she's slamming doors and she doesn't want to talk to dad, and I don't know if I want to talk to her, right? So that's one of the things that we probably get asked about the most, which is why we thought it was very important to release that issue, and we released it for free. So it is available for any dad to go and grab. That it just became one of those things that everyone was asking us about, that we wanted to make it available to everybody. I would say that, and just how do you connect, holding conversations. So on our Instagram page, we do a lot of like conversation starters, because we want dads to have those conversations. It's different. With the fellas, you can sit in the room, say nothing, hit a nod, right? But you're saying something. But with the women love to talk. Daughters love to talk. And so you've got to do that by asking those open-ended questions, getting her to share her feelings, and then you know how to meet her. Because if you're asking her, hey, what do you want to do this fall? What is it that what's the hobby you would like to take up? Well, now you're learning about your daughter. What are some things she loves to do? Now you can go ahead and create those activities and create that environment for her. But yeah, I would say those are the 2 biggest things. I've got a princess. She's now turned into the beast. What's going on here? And then how do I talk to her? And that's different for dad, because especially if he's never had a sister, if he's, that experience is different. He's now raising someone different than him. It's not the same as, 2 sons. So how do I get her to talk and open up so we can establish a relationship that goes on for the long term?
I love that. Those are 2 important things. I'm trying not to think about puberty too much because I'm still a few years off from that, but my littlest one, she's 3. She's before this year. She already slams doors
Oh,
when she's mad, and she already gets after it. She's a bit of a firecracker. Those second
yeah,
kids, I swear, any dad listening to this right now is gonna understand that second child. And the second one's a little bit crazy. The second one is a bit crazy. But no, that's a whole change, and that's very fitting too with the release of Inside Out. That also kind of captures that as well, that perspective of puberty and all the things it brings, and the anxiety and the hormones, and not the hormones, but the emotions that it comes with it too. But
yeah,
the hormone piece is one that not a lot of dads understand because, granted, yes, men do go through it. Men go through a hormone cycle as well, but not at the same level that women do,
yeah,
because men, we only have testosterone. Women have estrogen and testosterone, and when those things are kind of hit each other through the menstruation cycle, it's a whole science and everything. Estrogen goes down, testosterone goes up, and all the other things, but that's all science, and I'm unqualified to speak about that. It's important to understand, like, the foods that our kids are eating are super important. Like the diet, the exercise, those things are huge. Even as cheesy as Play 60 is, it's important to get your kids out and active and to walk or do simple things with your daughter. If you have a gym membership, take her to the
yeah,
gym with you. Wake her up early, and she may not like it, but it'll help her.
mm,
And so sometimes we have to do things with our kids that they may not love, that they may not like in the moment, but are truly for their benefit at the end of it. And so you got to do what you got to do
yeah,
to make it work there.
yeah.
And then the second
And
thing
it's
you mentioned
always,
there,
go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to just share that it's also important for dads to read up on those things because it does make it easier on the relationship and then understanding because now he's like, okay, I get it now. And, I can track it. There's a period app. I can, okay, during this peak time, this is when things go awry. So, yeah, it also makes the household more calmer. I know with my dad, he had 4 daughters. So it's like he has to pinpoint, okay,
Bless the soul.
yeah, I know, right? This is when it's happening. Oh, 3 daughters. I'm sorry, 3 daughters. But yeah, this is when things are going awry and he knows the symptoms and the signs. So, but go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, he has 3 daughters and a wife. I mean, granted, your
Exactly.
mother has passed, but at the time he had 3 daughters and a
Yeah.
wife. So 4 women, trying to navigate that. I try to navigate a household of 3 girls, my wife and my 2 daughters, and it can get chaotic sometimes. But we're not there yet.
Yeah.
I pray for the strength and the patience and the ability to get through it when those dark days do come. But no, and then the second part you mentioned there, having that connection with your daughter, that conversation piece, being able to talk with your daughter. There's some really cool games that are out there that are available on Temu for like a couple bucks. Temu's not a sponsor of the podcast, but there's some really great ones on Temu. There's one called Little Talks. There's called one called, it's like a self-discovery deck. There's just all these little ones. I get them because I use them for work. I work in mental health, so I use those with the kids that I see to help kind of spark that conversation. But they're really cool to use at home too, because there's different. One deck has like expression, emotion, inquiry, and something else. The other deck has like 8 different categories. The other one has like 4 or 5 different categories, and they're all similar, but they're all different at the same time, just thinking of like values and random things. And so it helps spark that conversation. If you don't know how to have that conversation, it's fantastic because sometimes you just don't know where to start to have that conversation. We have to start somewhere. We have to start small,
Mhm.
but it's important to start regardless because those little talks turn into big talks later. So those little talks when they're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old turn into bigger talks as they get to 10, 11, 12, 13 plus years old, because naturally they're going to progress. Life's going to progress. Bodies are going to change. Hormones, puberty, everything's going to kind of come all at once. If you watch Inside Out, it suddenly just an alarm goes off and everything changes in the matter of
Mhm.
an instant. And it's so important to be ready, to be aware of that, to be prepared, but on top of that, to be informed. That's one message that I preach across the podcast all the time, is to be informed, whether that's about what's going on in the world, whether that's about what's going on in your country, whether that's what's going on in your state, whether that's what's going on like down the street from you. Whatever it is that you need to be informed about, and that includes your daughter's health and well-being, get informed. You have to be informed on these things. You have to be looking and trying to plan ahead, there's some great books. There's one called, I recommend it all the time to clients. It's called Celebrate Your Body or something, but it gives like a very solid breakdown with non-anatomical pictures or anything. But it's a great resource for dads to be able to read, and to go through with their daughters to understand like how the body's going to change, different things that are going to happen and how they're going to happen. It's a really cool book. It's like $10 on Amazon. Highly recommend it. If you're a dad, you're getting close to that age. It's called Celebrating Your Body. I'll put the link in the description. I'll find it. I'll put it there to make it easier for all of us so that you're not trying to search Amazon. Is it this book? Is it this book? Because we've all been told, oh, it's on Amazon. And then we search and we don't know which one it is because there's 10 of the same thing because people aren't that creative with their naming. Right. Let's see here. I'm sorry about the dog barking. If you hear my dog in the background, it's my apologies.
It's okay.
So how have you and your siblings over the years, have you guys honored your dad, and how do you guys continue to honor your dad?
Yeah. Well, he's no longer here. I lost both of my parents. But growing up, and I even did a blog post recently for Father's Day, he was pretty easy. Believe it or not, he asked for what he wanted and we made sure we delivered. But one of the things he was big on was like quality time with his dad. So we spent a lot of days in the backyard barbecuing. That was like his favorite thing, having his amaretto in his hand, 2 fingers worth of the shot glass, 2 fingers worth of amaretto. And he was just, I mean, it was just a thing. We always did cards. We always got him whatever he wanted, shirts, pants. I mean, we didn't really, I don't know. I wouldn't say we didn't honor him from the standpoint of, I'm just trying to think, like, was there any real special highlighted moments? I don't know. I think we've always been a tight-knit family. So as siblings, we always just made sure he had what he needed. And we stayed out of his hair and we just, we took care of whatever his needs were. Yeah.
I love that. That makes it super easy. What are some ways that listeners listening to this that have their dads or are dads, or maybe even children listening to this, maybe not like little children, because I don't recommend that like small children listen to this, but like maybe teenagers or young men that are in that early like teenagehood, what are some great ways that children today, or even young adults or adults even, what are some great ways that we can show honor to our fathers?
One, I would say, like, don't procrastinate. That's one of the things, like, my dad never felt like he was an afterthought. We put him at the front of things. If we were doing something special for his birthday or for Father's Day, we did it weeks in advance. We didn't come to him on Father's Day and say, oh, your gift's in the mail. We didn't come to him on his birthday and say, oh, yeah, those shoes you wanted, they'll arrive next week. Like, we made sure that whatever he requested, like, we had it then and there, or sometimes even in advance. We listened to what his needs were. So if he was like, man, I really could use, for instance, when we were do the garden, he had a garden that he tended to in our front lawn. And so we made it possible. Like, when I would get out there with him and do the weeds, like he liked the small things. So I would tell, like, find out what his needs are and then help him along the way. Like, do those things with him. Don't wait. Also, like, don't wait to honor him. Do it anytime. Like, don't wait for a special occasion. Don't wait for a birthday. Don't wait for Father's Day. If he's mentioned something, then go look for it. If he said, man, I could use a new pair of shoes, like, hey, go out and get those new pair of shoes. And I would also say, like, the small things matter, but the big things matter too. Like, find a way to pull together to do something nice for your dad. If there's a trip that he's always wanted to take, you don't have to be the sole person to send him off to Italy, but as a family, you all could come together and say, hey, all right, let's all do $200 and let's pull together, depending on how many kids, of course. But my parents had 7, so it was easy for us to pull together. But yeah, find ways to pull together to make dads, I know, right? To make dad's dreams happen, because there's a lot of sacrifices that he makes early on for children, right? He's sacrificing his dreams in some cases once he has kids. Sometimes dads are sacrificing their hobbies. They're not doing the things that they really want to do until the children are out of the house. So find a way to celebrate those things that maybe he didn't do when raising you up as a youth, and find out what his interests are and then do those things for him. So yeah, I would say that to teenager, like, look to see, what does dad need? Is dad upset about the tongs? Did they break? You can go on Amazon and get him a new pair of tongs for his barbecue. There's so many things that you can do that cost you little to nothing. He may have already mentioned it, whether it's a weed whacker, whether it's something to cover his vehicle. In the wintertime, he hates kicking the snow off. Maybe it's just getting him a car cover. So be proactive about those things. Don't wait. And then I would say, if you have the money and the finances, do something big for him. Dad deserves it. Don't do the small thing. Don't look for the socks. Don't look for the t-shirt. Do the big thing. Find the thing that he really wanted to do, whether it's courtside tickets to an NBA game or, hanging out with backstage after a concert. Do the big thing for dad. Dad deserves the big thing.
Absolutely. And I think that's important. Not every dad is going to want the big thing. Sometimes the big things are the little things. But a lot of dads, we just want to feel ultimately appreciated. We want to feel wanted. We want to feel needed. And so being able to make your dad feel wanted and needed and appreciated all at once, huge. Maybe that does look like going outside and, like you mentioned, pulling weeds with them, because us dads, we're getting older. We're getting older too. And so sometimes we need a little assistance in the garden, pulling some weeds. It can be hard, it can be hot. Sometimes we don't mind. But just finding the ways that you can, show him the little things. Because the little things you can do every day, right? There's always an opportunity every day to show something. Maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's a text, maybe you're living far apart, to do those things. So do them. Find the way to honor them.
Yeah.
And then I love what you said, work with your siblings, work with people who you need to work with to do something big for them. And maybe big to him is like that bomb steakhouse down the road that has A1 Wagyu or something that he just always talks about, but knows like it's out of reach right now because for whatever reason. Do those things that are impactful to him. Find out what he needs. And if you don't need, talk to his friends. Because I guarantee if you talk to his buddies, he's probably complaining, man, my tongs broke, or this broke, or the weed whacker's going out, or whatever. Talk to his friends. They'll tell you too. And especially his friends will say, oh, well, so and so, and make sure if it is a friend that does it, make sure you credit the friend too. Be like, oh, well, Teddy said that you wanted so and so, and then he'll go to Teddy later and be like, you listen to me, and then that'll help their friendship and their relationship too. So it's all like a full circle thing. It's really cool how it can all come together. But no, that's awesome. I love that. It's so simple to honor your dad and to be there and to appreciate even the small things. And it can always be small, like small things you can do every day, big things you can do once every year or so, but it's important. And I love the part that you mentioned of not waiting. Like, don't wait until Father's Day to say, oh, your gift's in the mail. Like, my wife, she's fantastic at this because she can't wait to give me something she got me. Like, this microphone, it was supposed to be a birthday present. I got like 2-3 weeks early. Like, she has the hardest time, like, just waiting to give me something. And I love it because I get my gifts early.
Yeah.
And if I really want it, like for Father's Day, I was like, no, I'll wait. It's fine. I'll wait. It's not a big deal. I'll wait, kind of thing. And then I was like, well, I'll take it early, kind of thing. And then it's like, okay. And then it was super easy and it's fun. It makes it just makes it a lot of fun to be able to know, like, oh, you already have something. It's already here, kind of thing, versus waiting last minute. I'm terrible at picking out gifts. I'm terrible at receiving gifts. I'm terrible at giving gifts because I just procrastinate. And it's like, I don't know what this person wants. Gifts make me uncomfortable. I love when I get them, but in the moment they make me super uncomfortable trying to shop and think and plan. It's like, I don't know because maybe I wasn't listening, but I can shop for my kids. I know what they want, or my wife. Sometimes my wife is hard sometimes because wives are hard. If you know, men, if you know, you know. Sometimes it's really hard to shop for your wife, even though you have a whole notes app on your phone on all the things she likes and needs and has said she wants. None of those seem like good enough for her. So it's one of those things. But yeah, no, it's easy to show your dad you honor him, you care about him, you respect him, and you appreciate everything that they do for you. Because essentially, dads do sacrifice. We sacrifice a lot of our lives for our children, and that's okay because we're supposed to. Like that's
Yeah,
the whole deal we made, to sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So the
that's
whole
all
deal
right.
we made when we had kids, when we decided we wanted kids, was to put ourselves aside for the next however many years, whether that included maybe some couple dreams, a couple hopes, maybe a hobby or two, maybe some time that we would have spent with our buddies or things like that. Well, those things are still possible to have. We realize, okay, well, putting myself aside, this is something bigger than me now, something smaller that's bigger than me now. Raising a human being, putting myself aside, putting, now speaking 2024, putting the controller down, putting the TV away for a bit, putting the games away, putting the games down, and doing all these things because it's not about me anymore. It's not about just me anymore.
Yeah. And dads recognizing that they deserve it, because oftentimes I hear like dads also share like, oh, don't worry about me, I'll be okay, but in some cases you would like to have something. So I think dads also need to recognize, you know what, I'm worthy of being loved, receiving these gifts from my family, from my children, and then sharing what is that you want. Because oftentimes dads will just say, oh no, whatever you decide, and then you get something you don't really want. But I think it's also good for dad to say, actually, I've been eyeing this set of golf clubs, and here's the high end one and here's the low end one. Either one I'll be happy with. It's okay to do that, because moms are going to hit you with a litany of things. They're going to go, I saw this purse, I saw this pair of shoes, I saw this ice cream maker. Like, they're going to have a whole list. And it's okay. Dad, have the list ready. Have the list ready. Your children want to love on you. So it's okay to say, you know what? Actually, this time around, I do want something. Yeah, like, you deserve it. So it's okay. And we recognize as men do that. Dads do that. They're like, well, this is my job. This is my responsibility. I showed up for you. I don't need anything for that. Well, no, you don't. But we also want to show you that we appreciate you showing up, because all dads don't show up. All dads don't do the role. All dads don't provide. All dads don't protect. And when we have a dad in our lives, we want to make sure that we take care of you. You deserve to be honored. You deserve to be loved on. You deserve to be treated kindly and supported. And so allow your children to do that. I would share that with the dads too. Allow it. Allow us to love on you. Allow yourself to feel appreciated. If you want the spa day, let's give you the spa day. That's all right. Take the day off and enjoy yourself. So for sure, I do want to share that with dads, because oftentimes they feel like, oh no, I did the job. Yeah, but you deserve it, because there are people who aren't doing the job. And we appreciate you for showing up every day. It's not easy.
100%. No, and that's interesting to say that. As you were saying that, I'm like thinking about it, and I don't know how many times that I've been at, Target or maybe at the mall or at a sporting goods store or something, and I'm like looking and I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking. I'm like, man, that looks fun, or man, I really want that thing, or I want that thing like for myself. And I was like, no, I I put it in the cart, I stare at it for a bit, and I'm like, I don't need it, kind of thing. Fine. It's fine. I don't need. I can put this money back into something else. I can kids or something. I can put it
Yeah.
into something else later, kind of thing. Like I don't need this thing right now. And I don't know. I looked at a PS5 for a long time before my wife convinced me to get one. And I'm like, I don't need it. It's like a lot of money. It's like I don't. We don't need it, kind of thing. And she really broke me down and got me to get one. But it's hard. Like a lot of dads are in that same boat to where it's like, man, that shirt's really cool, but I don't just need a shirt. Like it's not that
Right.
important. Like it's just a shirt. Like big deal. Move on. Put it away. Like so many dads all the time are like, man, that would be great to have that new pair of jeans, but the jeans I got are fine. That new pair of shoes, man, but the shoes I got are fine. Like, I don't need these things. Like, they're not needs, they're wants. Until
Yeah.
it turns into a need, and then even the needs at that point are like, I don't really need, that, or I don't want to burden my kids to get me, that brand new pair of shoes, or I don't want to burden someone to get me that thing when I can just get it. So I'll just put it off. I'll be fine for now. I can be a little uncomfortable, or belt broke, but I can figure it out for a little bit to get by until I really, really need another one or something. And so we have this like cycle as dads where we're always just like, I don't need it. I do need it, but I don't need it right now. I can put that off because, oh well, we got that bill to pay, or we need to put this money away, or we're thinking ahead. It's like, okay, in 2-3 months we're gonna have to buy school supplies. So if I don't buy this thing I need now, then I got a little bit more money for the school supplies and the back to school. We're always thinking of like, okay, well, I can't
Yeah.
get this thing now because if I get this now, then I don't have that money later for Christmas or for a birthday or for something. So it's always that never ending cycle of how to go about it, how to make it happen. And I mean, dads, we always make it happen. We're always making it happen. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you have to ask yourself, are you really living? And that's one of the things that here at Honor, like we want to make sure that dad is doing it all to the best of his ability. Like, yes, it's important that you are bringing in the money, that you're budgeting, but we also want you to get in that self care. Like, make sure that you're taking care of your mental health. And I think that coincides with it. It's like, I'm going to do the extra thing for me this week. I'm going to take an extra few hours for me this week. I took my daughter, drove her to school every single day this week, helped with homework. Like, I'm going to take 2 hours on Saturday just to sit still. And I'm not going to move, right? I'm just going to sit still. I'm going to decompress and figure out, hey, what is it that I really want to do? Maybe I don't want to do anything. Maybe I just want to relax, but you just have to take some time as well for yourself. So yeah, I always tell the dads, like, if you find something and you want it, like, get it. Get the thing, because the money will eventually come, but the time, the experiences, the memories that you're creating, those are not always going to be there. So it's definitely very important.
true. The money comes, money goes. Money's just money.
Money.
Essentially at this point in the world, money's just a made up thing at this point, and something that stresses us out. Just call me a conspiracy theorist, but what really is money at this point? It's not related to anything. They just print more, make more, and I don't get it. I don't get it. But it's important to do those things for yourself, and to make sure that you're taking care of your own emotional expression and your own self-care, because
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy for men to let it pile up, to pile up, pile up, pile up, squish it down, squish it down, squish it down, squish it
Yeah.
down further. And the more you do that, the harder it is to come out of that. But if you do it regularly, if you take it if you take that time weekly to have that little decompress time, to kind of, as the kids would say now, they would say like veg out, essentially, to where you can just
Mm.
do nothing. Maybe it's play video games, maybe it's watch TV for a couple hours, maybe it's go outside for a couple hours and sit, or do yard work because that relaxes you, whatever that thing is that relaxes you. But
Yeah.
doing it regularly, taking care of yourself regularly, that's so important as a man, as an individual, to make sure you're regularly taking care of yourself. And that looks a lot of different ways. Because if you're regularly taking care of yourself, whether that's, I don't know, going to the gym. I go to the gym 2-3 times a week. Love it. Cold plunge, sauna. I do all the things when I'm there, or at least I try to. I feel really weird if I go to the gym and I just work out and I don't get a cold plunge or a sauna in after my workout. I feel real weird. I feel real off. Or, just maybe it's buying your favorite energy drink from the store or something. Or maybe it's buying your favorite coffee because you love how this one specific coffee tastes. Yes, it's $5 more than the Folgers, but that $5 more, it's just $5. It's just $5. But for dads, we think about that. We hear, oh, it's $5. We hear, oh, well, that's a couple gallons of gas, or that's so and such for the kids, or that's such and such and whatever else. So it's very quickly and easily in our heads to go from, well, that's great, but that's taking from this other place. That's taking from this place. That's taking from this place. And so it can get really hard to make that justification. But if that $5 more coffee that you make at home anyways, you're already saving a bunch of money in just doing that. But if that makes you a little bit happier, then that's great, because if you're happier and you're taking care of yourself a little bit more, you're going to be able to take care of your children a little bit more. You're going to be able to take care of your children at a higher level and provide for them at a higher level.
Yes.
But if you're always just pushing it down, putting it off, well, guess what? You're also going to be pushing your kids away. You're going to be pushing out people. You're going to be shoving people away. And it's going to reflect in your parenting, in your friendships, in your relationships all around you at the same time. Correlation is the correlation here. And that's just how it is. Sorry to break it to you. But you have to take care of yourself regularly, whatever that looks like. Maybe it's reading a book every night. Maybe it's going to church. Maybe that's involving yourself in a ministry so that you can volunteer. Maybe that's going to the gym, working out, going on walks, whatever it is, journaling. I have some great guided journals I can recommend for you. There's one by Steve Anderson. Go back and listen to that episode of the podcast with Steve. It's a great episode where we talked about a guided journal that he created specifically for dads to help with that, like, time for reflection, time for that building up. And you go listen to the Well Balanced Dad Diet series that I put out and all the little tips and tricks I have in there, because it's so important to take care of your mind, body, and your spirit. Mind is also your mental and emotional health, and that body is your physical health. Spirit is that part that we don't talk about a lot. We don't talk about that spiritual aspect nearly enough, because it's, kind of off the table. It's kind of taboo to talk about, but it's important to have something not higher than you, but higher than you at the same time, that you feel is guiding you, that you feel is connecting you to the world, that connects you with your kids. To connect spiritually is huge. Connect spiritually with people, to be able to have a different level of connection, to be on the same wavelength, I guess you could say, to be on the same vibe. Again, as the kids say. But if you're not doing those things, it's really easy to become part of the statistic. Become part of the statistic of men who are taking their own lives, at almost 4 times as many as women. Not to say these things always lead to that, but it's really easy to go down that path if you're not regularly taking care of yourself. If we aren't honoring our dads, if we aren't showing them love, if we're always just take, then that weighs on a person. That weighs on anybody. Dad, mom, individual, as a person. If we have people who are always just taking from us and taking from us and taking from us, sucking our energy, sucking out our everything that they can from us, that weighs on a person. That weighs heavily on a person, and it weighs heavily on a dad, because it's like, well, I don't know how much more I can give. I don't know how much more I got. Like, you've already taken everything. And so it's really important to kind of go back to the whole message here, to honor your dad, to make it normal for him to honor himself and to take care of himself.
Yeah. And as a dad, you're also role modeling this for your daughters. The way that you decide, hey, you know what? I've had a rough week. I'm going to practice some self-care, because she's going to have a job in the corporate arena, and she's got to be able to know when enough is enough. I need to take a time out. I need a break. I need to take some PTO. I remember my dad taking time off. I remember my dad going out on Friday to celebrate his hard week and taking my mom along. So she's going to know, you know what? It's Friday. I need to celebrate myself. Let me take a piece of that check, even if it's just $50. Let me do something good for me. She needs to see that being role modeled, because if not, she's just going to go hard in the paint. And that's not her job. At the end of the day, she definitely, like, money has its reasons for being there, but there's also life that happens. So she needs to see him interacting with his friends. And yeah, so that you're role modeling that, dad, when you show up in that way. I remember that. My dad used to put that leather coat on. My mom used to iron his clothes. They would go out and have a good time. Those are things I experience now, because I saw that growing up. That you don't just make the money just to make the money and put it aside, and it doesn't just It's not just there to pay the bills. It's there so you can actually go out and live. So that's important as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the money's there, right? Even if you have 7 kids and a family of 8, right? Like the money's there, but you have to be willing to use the money and to spend the money. And tell yourself that it's okay to do so. It's okay to take this 40, $50 and do the thing that you're going to do with it, and to go and see a movie, or to go and do something, or to go and, even if it's just going to Applebee's or something, go and get the 2 for 32 kind of thing, or go and spend this $40 and go and get you something, whatever it is. Like, you 100% do deserve it. Like, that's what work is there for. It's to not only to provide a living, but also so you can live as well. It's important for dads to remember, like, life is not just about making a living, but it's also to live. Like, you can't just work and work and work and work and work. There has to be some fun. There has to be some enjoyment. There has to be fulfillment. There has to be something that keeps you going, that gets you going, that continues you to move forward. It's so important to be on those things, to be on all those things to get you moving in the right direction. If you're not having fun, if you're not living, if you're just making a living, but you're not living, then there's something wrong that needs an immediate change. And sometimes we have to make those immediate changes in our lives. Not all men had a father who showed them how to do, because a lot of millennials we're now dads, we saw our fathers who were, what is that, Gen X before us? Was it Gen X? I don't remember the generations, but we saw a bunch of men who were raised by our grandfathers, who came up, post Depression, post World War II, in this world. And so it was all those things creating a situation. And that's what they learned. Like, work, 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 die, you know?
Yeah.
So they didn't live their lives. They didn't live them. They lived lives of service and lives of, dedication to their country and to military service and things like that, because they had to. There was no other choice. There wasn't a time for expression and freedom. And so then our parents, at least my dad was born in the 70s. That's when there was a time of expression. There was a time of free choice. There was finally time to breathe and to raise kids that had a choice, that weren't just going to war, it felt like, or weren't just in a depression. Things were looking good. And so that everyone learned to express, but our grandfathers didn't know how to teach our fathers that. And if our fathers don't know how to do that, guess what? We have to either go with what they're teaching us or figure out how to do it differently ourselves for now when we're having kids. So it's a cycle. We have to break those cycles. We have to hard stop some things to hard start something new. So it's super important. But yeah. So, all right, let's get this thing wrapped up, shall we?
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Well, before we end, I just want to give a shout out to all of the partners of the podcast, between Podbeat to Forefathers. And Forefathers is a great way to honor your dad. If you love your dad and you want to show him how much you love him, Forefathers apparel will get you covered. Polos that accentuate what it is to be a dad, from Moglo to mowing the lawn, gone fishing, movie nights, gamer dad, dog dad, every kind of dad in between. Forefathers apparel will let you show off your dad. And it's a great little way to show that you honor him and you care about him and you know what he's into, because you can get him a polo specifically tailored for something he's probably into over there from those guys. High quality, lightweight, breathable, look good, feel good, all the things. Forefathers apparel, absolutely fantastic way to honor your dad. Use the code YOUNGDAD, YOUNGDAD, to get 20% off your purchase, and a great way to support the podcast and to support Forefathers apparel, and great way to honor dad in the end. He'll look great. He'll make new friends because they'll all be stopping him and gawking at him, and he'll get so many compliments he won't know what to do with it, and he'll call you up and be like, what's wrong with this polo? It's magic. It's broken. I've never gotten this many compliments. I've never been stopped this much before in my life. And be like, well, it's just because I love you. I just wanted you to have a hard day, but getting compliments. I'm so sorry. Then you'll hang up the phone. Make sure you tell him you love him. I love you. Goodbye. And then hang up and move on with your life. Also, fun fact: little kids don't do this anymore. They do not do a phone like this. They just do they just hold it like this. They don't do this anymore. It's crazy. But I'm trying to think of a closing question here. I like to close with just a single question here to end the podcast. Give me like 3 seconds to think here. I can't think of anything. We cover everything I want to ask. We already covered. Any final thoughts or anything that you want to leave for the listeners, Nicoma?
No, you can find us at honormag.com, and our Men of Honor community will be launching once again in the fall. So you are free to join us. Please do. No, that's it. We are here for the dads, and we look forward to honoring them.